Hi, I'm Janet Laminack. I'm the County Extension Agent in Horticulture in Denton County. I'm welcoming you to my backyard. I'm going to talk to you about growing things in containers. And we're going to have all the nice sounds of nature. The neighborhood rooster should be hollering soon. Maybe a dog will bark, and I feel like I'm on the flight path to DFW today, or Love Field. So gonna have lots of fun. And then of course everybody's mowing. But what I want to talk about today is just a few basic things on getting started growing plants in containers. This is certainly not going to be all encompassing, but just hopefully a few tricks to kind of get you started if you don't know where to start at all. And also, I'm the cameraman, so this will be fun. Containers. You can put containers anywhere. This one's got basil. They don't look so good right now. They're not as happy as they could be. This one's got sage in it, and this one's got mint. Now, if you're going to grow something edible in a container, one of the very first things you need to do is make sure that you have full sun for 8 hours. Direct full sun. A great thing about using a container or even a raised bed is that you can put it, literally anywhere that you have sunlight. So all we have here is concrete, and we can plop down a container right here and get full sun and not have such a messy, weedy yard or garden. Now, does anybody recognize what this container is? It is not that disguised. It is a kitty litter container, and I have cats, and I had a lot of these, so I thought, maybe I can make a planter out of it. One more thing about this planter, I wanted to point out that it has thyme in it, and it has basil. Basil does not look very good. I just cut a lot of it off last night to make pesto. But so you can grow herbs in a very small space. And also, kind of handy about this one is it has a handle, so you can just pick it up and move your garden to wherever you want it to be. All right, so let's start growing. First of all, let's get a container. This is a nursery container. It's very large. You might be able to find it for free laying around. Here's another one that's a little bit smaller. If you're going to grow edibles, for the most part, you're going to want a big container. Here's a container. Here's one you can actually just buy, a fancy one. It looks like terracotta, but it's like the clay, but it's not, so it's nice and lightweight. I got this to plant my citrus plant in, my tree, but I haven't done that yet. Okay, but also, you can make a pretty good raised bed, container garden, by using a 5-gallon bucket. And we all know where to find those. Or, like I showed you, like a kitty litter container, or maybe a birdseed container. But in order to use that, you're going to need to drill holes in it. I don't have a great drill head on this. Just have like this, but there are better drill heads that you can get. So you're going to want to put a bunch of holes in here. This is not big enough, actually. I'm going to try to make it a little bigger around here, so we have good drainage. Okay, I saved you the agony of watching me do the drilling. As you can see, I made a really kind of a disturbing, scary face. But what I was attempting to do is make this a bigger hole, so for better drainage. So you might consider doing that, and you want to have several drain holes, okay? Now, one of my favorite things, actually, about being an adult is that I can ruin my own things. So, like this bucket. But also, you can use a knife to cut holes in a bucket if you don't have a drill, okay? That looks scary. So, it's not easy, necessarily. You gotta find a really sharp knife. And this is a number 2 plastic, so it's really thick. And you can cut some drain holes in here. Blah! Like so. But make sure that you don't have them where they can close up on you, okay? So, like this one's on the outside, so that's good. It's not pretty, but it should do the trick. All right, we're going to talk about soil, because soil is the one thing you do not want to skimp on. This is some soil that I took out of my raised bed in the front yard. I purchased some raised bed soil in a bag to put out there. So this is what that looks like. Pretty good, I think. This is another example of some potting soil. This is called potting soil, and it'd be really good. You want something nice and fluffy. You need, you don't want to dig up your dirt and soil in your yard. That will become compacted and problematic. So you've got to spend some money on soil. It's going to be an important thing. I'm not promoting any products, but this is by Miracle Grow, and it's a tiny little bag, but you add water to the soil and into this, and it's supposed to expand and get larger. So we will put some water in here and see how that goes. All right, so we can see that this is kind of growing. And another thing, even if you aren't using something like this that's supposed to expand, if you have a regular potting mix and it's dry, really dry, you're going to want to mix it with some water and make sure it's moist. You don't want to work with dry soil putting it into a container, okay? Another thing just to keep in mind is that all of these things are actually not soil, okay? It's a potting medium. So you might find a bag called potting soil or raised bed soil, or it could just be called a soilless mix, okay? So it's not really soil we're putting in here, because if we put soil in here, like from our gardens, that would just compact down and not drain out. As you can see, we're using a big container. This is a big container. And I know what people are going to be tempted to do, even on our 5-gallon bucket. You're going to want to put something in the bottom. Or you might even think, instead of drilling holes, I'll put a bunch of rocks in the bottom of this, which will act as a drain. Then I won't have to drill holes. Okay, that is a bad idea. And that's because of the soil and the way soil and water work together. So you want to make sure that your whole container is full of soil. I couldn't find a good illustration of this, so I'm going to draw it for you. So we're going to pretend like this is the container. All right. But we're looking at it, we're looking inside of it. And down here, we thought we would put, some rocks so that we could improve the drainage. And up here's where we have our little plants. Okay, so this would be the gravel layer, and everything else would be the soilless mix, or the medium for the soil. All right, so when you water, you think that the water is gonna come down and drain through, right? But it doesn't. It stops right here where the gravel begins. It doesn't move on through. This is all very sciencey, capillary action or whatever. But just so you know, this is gonna be where your water is gonna pool up rather than draining here. So your roots might be getting in the water. You just made a smaller container as well. So that's the reason why we don't want to put anything at the bottom. You don't want to put gravel in. It does not help drainage. It makes it worse. Since containers are smaller, you might consider using a mulch in your container. As you can see here, I've got some wine corks. Over here I use rocks. Over here I started using pistachio shells. So mulch is just a material. It could be organic, like the pistachio shells, or it could be inorganic, like the rocks. And it's a layer that you put on top of the soil. It helps moderate the soil temperature. It helps to keep keeps weeds out, maybe. And it also helps hold in water so that the top of your soil is not as exposed and is not drying out as fast. So you might consider putting mulch on, even in a container. Okay, now we're going to talk about watering. I've already done my little, or I will now. I'll show you. Put your finger in, see if it's dry. It is dry. Whew. I've been needing to water this. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you want to use a cup. You can use a watering can. I just use a water hose. But the most important thing is, don't just put a little bit of water in here every day, because if you do that, your roots are going to stay right up top. Okay, there's several reasons that would be bad. One, if you miss a day watering, it's going to dry out. So you want your plants to be much more deeply rooted. Another thing is that actually the heat sometimes, if the roots are up top to the surface, our Texas heat and sun can cause root damage. So you want to water all the way down until it drains out the bottom. Another reason you want to drain it out the bottom is because our water quality is not great around here, and so you can get a salt buildup in your containers, in your plants, especially if we're using city water or well water. So you want to flush out all those bad things, okay? Especially, you might notice this on your house plants. Sometimes you'll get the tips of a house plant kind of browning out. That's the same sort of situation. So you might want to take that plant, if you can, put it in the bathtub, just run all the water through it, let it drain, and then put it back somewhere in your house. But don't let it stand in the water. We don't want it to stand in the water. We just want the water to soak through. So basically, if you have a container with good drainage, you can put a lot of water on it because it'll drain it right out. Okay, there's some plants that'll be a little sensitive, but you just always want to put a lot of water. You want to water really deeply. Well, thank you for joining me today. That's going to be a wrap. So hopefully what you learned is you can grow vegetables or herbs in a small space, in a container. The important things to remember is location. Make sure it gets a lot of sun. I think I said 8 hours. You could probably get by with 6 hours, but 6 to 8 hours of sun. You want to purchase a good quality soilless mixture of some sort, lightweight, put in your container. Make sure your container has good drainage. Make sure when you water really deeply all the way through. And you might want to put some mulch on top of it because it makes it look cute and it also serves a really good purpose. So I'm also going to share with you some resources for getting more information. agrilifeextension.tamu.edu. You can find your county extension agent in your county office, no matter what county you're in. Aggie Horticulture. aggieHorticulture.tamu.edu. We've got information on vegetables, fruits, all sorts of different good things. Great place to look for more information. It's research-based. Denton County Master Gardeners, dcmga.com. If you live up in this area, you might really be interested in the North Texas gardening section. Got a lot of information about local activities and how to garden here, specifically in our area. And also on Aggie Horticulture, you might want to check here, Aggie Horticulture Facebook Live, because we have been doing these live events Fridays and Wednesdays at 1 p.m., but you can catch all of them here recorded. How how to take care of succulents, shopping at a farmer's market. So they're all here. But if you can join us on Facebook Live, that's even better, because we can answer questions while it's streaming.